Hey guys, hope you're doing well today, and gonna go over some things about buying a house with you. I hope you turned in your questions yesterday. It looks like I think everybody submitted them. Please make sure you check your answers for them, and if you have some questions on them, send them my way. You will be having a test on buying a house probably Thursday or Friday next week, so make sure you guys are asking some questions here. All that stuff that you've been doing on the worksheets is important. And yeah, I didn't get any questions yesterday, so I'm not going to go over any of those. But if you ask, I will make a video and go over them with you guys. So anyhow, today we're going to talk about, well, how much house can you afford if you were to buy a house? First, let's see if you guys are ready for home ownership. And you probably could guess no, but here's a nice little checklist anyways. Alright, so first off here, okay, you gotta know your current financial picture, which a lot of you guys don't have any credit score or credit history, so therefore you will not be able to get a loan to buy a house. Debt to income ratio is how much debt you have, like loans, car loans, other loans, school loans, etc., compared to how much income you're taking in. Alright, so if you have other loans, it's going to hurt your ability to get a mortgage if your debt to income ratio gets too high. Alright, and then they look at, your monthly income and factor that in. So the ability to pay monthly kind of combines everything here. So let's see. Alright, do you have a steady, reliable source of income coming in? Most people in high school would say no. You've been employed on it for at least 2 years at a steady basis. Nope, not for you guys. I pay my regular monthly bills. You don't have them. I make regular payments on my debts. You don't have them, so I guess you could say that. I can afford to continue to pay these debts plus a mortgage. Mortgage costs should not exceed 28% of your gross income. So that's an important number there. You should not be paying more than 28% of your income towards your house. Okay, and we're going to talk about that in a second again. So you've researched other expenses like homeowners insurances, taxes, utilities. So there's a lot more than just buying the house. You might have high property taxes. You might have high utility costs for the area that you are living in or the house that you are buying if it's not well insulated. So you need to have money saved, okay? Now, how much money? Typically, you want to try to get at least 20%, all right? But, some people buy a house on 10%, but 20% is the smart way to do it. All right, because that avoids PMI, which is private mortgage insurance, which is insurance the bank requires you to have if you don't have enough money on a down payment. Yep. So these other things, you might be able to check yes for it, except for I've recently reviewed my credit report. I know my credit score. You don't have a credit score. So it is a big responsibility, all right, regardless of what else, you have going on. You can't just jump into buying a house willy-nilly. You have to think about it long and hard. All right, so let's go over here. How much house could you afford theoretically when you are an adult? This is an important question to ask. So in order to answer that question, you need to figure out how much you are spending per month and, cut out extra things just to, tighten up your budget a little bit. And it's always good to review that from time to time anyways. Secondly, you need to calculate how large a monthly payment you could make. And number three, even if you calculate it, you might decide that you aren't willing to make that much of a monthly payment. All right. You have to look at how much you have saved for a down payment and closing costs. Like I said, remember you want to try to hit 20%. That is the mark to avoid good old PMI as I get my tools here ready to go. And you definitely want to talk to somebody that knows what they're doing mortgage consultant, okay? And you should definitely have once you've figured out you can afford to buy a house, you need to go and get a person that will help you find a house, called a realtor. You don't want to go looking for houses by yourself, because you can make a 10% boo-boo, which ends up costing you like $10,000, $20,000. Okay, just boom, gone. All right. Okay, very important tip here as we're about to calculate how much house you can afford. All right, you want to take your gross annual income and multiply it by 2.5, and that's about the size or cost of the house that you can afford. To figure out your monthly payment, you want to remember 28% is like the high limit on your monthly income. Okay, so you would take your yearly income if you have it, multiply it by 28%, and then divide it by 12, because it's 1/12 of your yearly income. All right, Dave Ramsey, just for comparison, recommends a little bit more conservative, no more than 25% of your take-home income. All right, now that's a big difference here, because this Dave Ramsey says take-home income, so that is net after taxes, but here it's gross. Okay, so even though it looks like there's only 3% difference, it's probably a lot more than 3% difference, because Dave Ramsey's talking about after taxes, and this is before taxes. So go on the side of caution, and maybe you might want to go with a lower percentage, like maybe what Dave Ramsey recommends at 25% of your take-home pay. All right, so let's look at a couple problems here about calculating this. So George makes $50,000 a year. How much house can he afford at his upper limit? All right, so his upper limit for house per year, okay, based on his yearly salary, is, remember, 2.5 times $50,000. Okay, so just grab your calculator and see what that is. So he can afford roughly $125,000 house. Okay, and that's it doesn't seem too great, but that's a good conservative estimate. Now, if he saves up and has a larger down payment, all right, then he could probably afford to have more of a house there. What would be his upper limit for his monthly payment if we use that 28% maximum? All right, so what we would do is we'd take George's yearly income, we'd multiply it by 28%, and then we would divide that by 12. So for that, we'd get $1,166.67. Okay, so if you want to be conservative, you'd probably say no more than $1,100. Okay, but try to keep it as precise as possible so you can get the same answer as everybody else here. All right, so this would be his maximum. Oops, go back here. Maximum monthly payment. All right, and that does seem like a pretty high amount, but that's typical if you're buying a house, to be around $1,000 maximum monthly payment for the average Joe. All right, so Mr. Yakko wants to avoid PMI and have 20% down for a house. All right, closing costs are an estimated $4,000 roughly. How much would Mr. Yakko need to have saved for a house? All right, well, I'm forgetting how much the house costs, so we're going to assume I'm going to buy maybe a $150,000 house. Okay, so my down payment would be 20% of this, so 0.2 times 150,000, which is about a $30,000 down payment. And then closing costs, you just add those. Okay, so plus my closing costs, which was $4,000, and so the total that I'd have need to save is $34,000. So that's just a rough estimate for buying a house for a $150,000 house. Remember, you want to always try to save $20,000 to avoid PMI. And also that, you want to make sure not to go over this 28% of your monthly income number here, okay? So just remember this tip here to figure out how much house you can afford. 2.5 times your gross income for the year, and then it's 28%. You don't want to go over 28% of your monthly income when you're calculating your monthly payment on your mortgage. Okay, so that's about it, guys. Hope you liked the video, and we'll see you soon, hopefully. Bye-bye.